Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Soul Sondole. I just listened to one of my old posts from not too long ago, and I was felt so bad about the sound quality of it. But I'm not feeling that bad about it. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. I'm gonna just take accountability for it and try to move on and try to do what I need to do to make it better. I might, fortunately, Spotify has transcribed almost every upload, so I could just read everything that I said back to regain that content. But it's gonna take away some of the nuances and the emotion that I originally put into it. But anyway, enough of that. I've been speaking to some people recently, and I've been not just speaking to other people. I've been talking to myself. My grandmother used to talk to herself a lot, and she went through a few struggles. You know what I mean? Like life is a struggle. Life is a struggle. Life is like they say, like the young people say, life is lifing. So life is a struggle. It doesn't go straight forward like that. It's gonna have bumps in it. It's gonna have speed bumps in it. It's gonna have some major hurdles in it. Some of them are gonna trip you up, and you're gonna fall over, and then you gotta get back up, and your knee is all bruised up and all stuff, and you gotta hop. I was watching a marathon. I was watching a lady run a marathon. She was about 87 years old, something like that. Right near the finish line, she fell, and she started crawling. She started crawling through the thing and crawling and got back up and then, finished. She was probably within 50 feet of the finish line and fell coming around a corner. Why they put that drastic corner there, who knows? So and I remember watching a New York Marathon where one of the runners had diarrhea, and she couldn't hold it anymore running, and she defecated on herself, and she still won the race. I think she won the race. She had what they call an accident, which I've had many of those. I remember the first one I had was in the first one I had since I've been out of diapers was when was in 5th grade. And the next time, honestly, I think the next time was in college. And it wasn't anything psychological or necessarily physically wrong with me. It's that I was eating some bad food. I had a beef patty from Flatbush Avenue. I think they were selling $1. They were $1, but I had a beef patty. And then there's some other instances where when I was in college again, because I was eating so much garbage, I wasn't eating food from home, and I had a long commute. I had a public transportation commute of about an hour and a half. So it's not like, if I'm already on the road, going back still gonna take me probably 45 minutes. Going forward, still gonna take me 45 minutes. And I just got caught up, man, and then I just had to let it go. I couldn't hold it anymore. Like some of the times when I had incontinence, I was about to pass out. So I think my body was in a toxic state. Whatever was in my gut that was disturbing me, my stomach, and I was holding it, was ultimately poisoning me to the point where I started seeing stars. I started getting dizzy. I started sweating, and I felt like I was gonna faint. So I don't know what kind of components they put in that food. I don't know what they put in it, but something is wrong. And I just had some food from a place recently last night that could have put me in the same place. If I was on the street traveling, I would have been in the same place. I think your stomach knows what it wants to do, so it wants to dump whatever the toxin is. It wants to just purge whatever that toxin is. And if you hold it in, the intestines are still absorbing that poison. But it's like, we got to get this out of here. But you're there holding your feces, and your body's absorbing it or absorbing this poison. And it's like, wait a minute, no. okay, now since you don't want to relinquish it, I'm gonna shut this whole thing down. I'm gonna shut this whole thing down so you can relax the muscles and let all of it just hang out, because you're not gonna poison this vessel. Anyhow, enough about pooping on yourself, right? Enough of that, right? So, fortunately now I have a car. If I need to zoom over to somewhere to go to the bathroom, I could do that. And my commute is pretty. It's like 45 minutes or less, so it's not so bad now. So that's a good thing, I haven't had. I don't think I've had. Probably not since college. I've pooped my pants. But even then, it was an embarrassment. But it was pretty embarrassing. I wish I could talk more about that. I wish I could, but you don't want to hear about that. Anyhow, what I really want to talk about is I've been talking to myself, right? And I realized that I have some repetitive thoughts. And I spoke about this when I spoke about K-pop Demon Hunter. K-pop Demon Hunter has a character in it named Rumi. And I took that and I stretched it and I said, oh, that's rumination. Because in the movie, the way how the Soldier Boys are able to conquer the fans is by telling them negative things about themselves. Make them say bad things about themselves to themselves. Oh, you're not worthy. Oh, nobody likes you. Oh, you'll never make it. Or, all kind of negative stuff. And that's how the Soldier Boys take over their mind. Who the Soldier Boys are demons. Right? So, and the result of that, Rumi, who is the lead singer of the Huntress, right, in K-pop Demon Hunter, she is half demon, so she's there thinking negative sometimes, yada yada blah blah blah, and eventually it takes her over and splits up her band, and it causes the whole city to fall under the spell of the Soldier Boys, basically. And then it's like the devil is about to come up out of the ground due to that. You know what I mean? So I've been talking to some other people also, and I'm, most of the times when things are going really on a level, we don't have anything to complain about. But even though, you see people and it seems like a lot of good stuff is going on for them, and internally, some of them have negative, repetitive conversations that they're saying to themselves that hinder them and slow them down and is blocking their blessings or keeping them back, or destroying their potential, like totally, neutralizing their talent and their ability to shine. These negative things that they're saying to themselves just holds them back. Like one of the negative things that I used to say to myself is, I deserve to be punished. Another negative thing I used to say is that I'm a coward. Another negative thing I would say is, I don't know, I don't like to study, or, like all kind of crazy stuff, what I mean? Like just, and I had a conversation with my cousin the other day, and he really changed my life. He changed my life, what I mean? Your life changes a lot of different times, right? It's not like one person changes, one thing changes your life, and then you never have any changes after that, you know what I mean? If you're fortunate enough, you'll keep adapting, so that you'll be malleable enough to bounce back from all problems and hurdles and jump over the hurdles and be still have some neuroplasticity and some plasticity in your whole everything, You want to have plasticity not just in your brain, so your brain can bounce back, but you want to have plasticity in just about everything. You know, that's why they put juices and stuff in plastic, because when it hits the ground, it doesn't break. So the valuable contents of the bottle still survive. You know what I mean? Even though it's bad for the environment, but we're not made out of plastic. We're not made out of petrochemicals. But we're trying to maintain some plasticity in the sense of being able to bounce back from problems. Now you have what do they call it? I think they call it elastic deformation. I don't remember. I've been out of school so long. Plastic deformation. Now, plastic deformation is when you stretch the plastic too far, and then now it's permanently strained, or you know, it's permanently deformed now. Plastic deformation is when you go past the yield point. Anyhow, let's not talk about material science right now. So what I'm saying is that I've noticed, you know, people have some negative thoughts that they repeat. Me, I am people, right? We have some negative thoughts that we repeat over and over and over and over again, and they're holding us back. You know, they you know, and I, you know, listen, I'm a deist, right? So I don't. You can look up what that means, but I still go to church because it's, you know, it's a reminder of certain life strategies on how to bounce back from things. It's not because of it's not necessarily particularly a spiritual experience for me. It's more of an intellectual experience, I would say, because when I think about a spiritual experience, I think about fear. I think about supernatural experiences that you can't explain, which I've probably not experienced, or I have experienced them and I just don't really remember them. You know, there's one time when I was walking on the street and I said, God, I'm so thirsty, to myself. I wish I had something to drink. And then I looked down and there was $1 on the sidewalk, and I took that $1 and I bought a CNC soda. So I always remembered that, you know. And there's other instances where I feel like God has come through and saved me, you know, just all the time saving me, you know. But that may be a part of being optimistic also. I don't want to discard, because I still believe in God. But I don't want to discard that He, you know, slapped me down, because whatever. So there's so many other instances where a recovery, you know, I mean, I feel like every moment that I'm being, you know, sustained, you know, until it's time that it's written that I'm not supposed to be here anymore, right? So which I haven't come to grips with yet, but whatever. I don't remember what I was saying, but the repetitive negative thoughts, this is probably the 5th time I'm speaking about it. So what I wanted to say is that, you know, in the teachings of like Jesus, or even in the teachings of Hinduism, Sarvartism, right? Something like that. In the teaching of Hinduism, I keep telling the story over and over again. There's a rich guy that comes to Jesus and he says, Jesus, you know, I've done everything right. Let me get into heaven, you know. And Jesus is like, okay, give all your stuff away to the poor people. And the guy was like, nah, man, you're crazy. What's wrong with you? I'm doing everything right. No, he didn't say all of that. But he's basically like, what are you talking about? I'm doing everything right. You want me to give away my money? Nah, I'm not doing that. So then the rich man goes away. Right? So then in the Hindu story, Krishna meets a rich guy. A rich guy runs up to Krishna basically and says, Krishna, you know, Krishna's basically going around granting wishes, right? So he asks Krishna to be rich. He's already rich, right? He asks Krishna to be even more rich, and Krishna gives him more riches. Oh yeah, Krishna says, what do you want from me? And he says, I want more riches. Krishna give him more riches. Now Krishna meets a poor man, Poor man has one cow. Krishna says to the poor man, what do you want from me? Poor man says, I want to be with you, Krishna. I want to be up there like that. You know what I mean? I want to get into heaven and all of that. Whatever they believe in Hinduism, right? And Krishna kills the man's cow. So the reason why I did that is to remove all earthly encumbrances. Now, even when you think about Buddha himself, when Buddha's first child was born, I don't know if he had more than one kid, but when Buddha's kid was born, Buddha was like, oh man, hold up. Now I'm encumbered to the earth. I'm responsible for this life that I just created. And then he tripped off of that. He started bugging out and started going and living on the streets. And even though he lived in a palace, he didn't feel encumbered by all of the wealth and stuff that he had. But the child is the one that said to him, he realized, oh man, this is a big responsibility. And I'm responsible now, but he ran away anyway, so whatever. So how I'm connecting that to the negative thoughts and the rumination is that we can't let anything on this planet, on this earth, on this physical plane, on the visible plane, on the lithosphere or whatever you want to call it. We can't let that make us lose our minds or start thinking unsustainably, start thinking reductionist, start thinking scarcity. Start having a scarcity mindset, start to have a reductionist mindset, start to have a negative mindset, and zero in on the problem when there are so many other things that need to be addressed, or so many other things really that are enjoyable and wonderful and great, and so many other things to be thankful for, rather than zeroing down on this one thing that you don't like. And my mantra that I've been saying for maybe the past 6 months is think about what you want and not what you don't want. And I've been saying the mantra, a similar mantra, for probably the past 3 years when I heard it. When Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is quoted as saying, focus on SHIT, SHIT grows. Focus on you grow. So I'm not even just focusing on me. I'm focusing on what I want. I'm not focusing on what I don't want. Even focusing on what kind of emotion do I want to be in versus the one that I don't want to be in. What kind of morals do I want to uphold as part of my identity, which my identity is somewhat fluid, because even thinking about the kind of music that I used to listen to, I still listen to, the culture and the lifestyle that was being preached in that form of music, I wanted to live in, and I somewhat embodied some parts of it. I'm realizing it's totally unsustainable. And now I have to discard that identity. So my identity has to be fluid, especially in a case like that when I'm following the wrong path. I was on the wrong path. They say get off the train as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying? If you're going in the direction that you don't want to, if you're going in the direction, I don't remember how the idiom goes or the saying goes or the quote goes, but they're saying that get off the train as soon as possible, else you're going to be taken farther than you want to go. You know what I'm saying? And then the pastor at the church says sin takes you farther than you want to go for longer than you want to stay. But you just need to get off of that wrong track. So if you're having repetitive negative thoughts, you got to find a way to get off of that train before it takes you somewhere that you don't want to go. You got to get off of that train before it takes you somewhere you want to go. You want to get off of that negative thought pattern train until it ruins your interpersonal relationships. You want to, well, that's not even primary. The number one thing is you want to get off of that train before it makes you sick. You want to get off that train before it makes you lose your freedom. You want to get off that train before it makes you lose your social whatever. You want to get off that train before it makes you lose your money. You want to get off that train before it makes you lose your mind. You want to get off that train before that thought leads to another thought. That's an unsustainable, reductionist, negative thought. Because in my experience and in my opinion, thoughts, one thought connects to another thought. That's why I jump over so many. I jump from one thought to another thought, because while I'm talking, it inspires me to think about something else, and then I totally get off track of what I was talking about. So, and I don't really know what the solution is, because I'm talking to people and I'm saying to them, hey, guess what? You should not focus on that. Oh my gosh, the freaking... Listen, man, bro. Don't drive close to the dump trucks. These rocks are falling off the dump trucks. Fortunately, the rocks hit my roof. They didn't hit my windscreen. But the big sign says on the back of the truck, construction vehicle do not follow. So you don't drive close behind these dump trucks. They got rocks falling off of it, and they'll break your windscreen. What the heck, man? I don't need my windscreen, bro. You see, now I just lost my train of thought. So let me get off of that thought now, because he exited the highway anyway. Oh, here's another garbage truck. This one is not a dump truck, though. So anyhow, that's not going to disturb me. I'm over it. I really wanted to call the Department of Transportation and say, listen, what's going on, man? Tell these guys to clean the back of the truck out, man. So anyhow, bounce back. You gotta bounce back, We gotta reinvent ourselves. Renewing. The Bible says something like, be not conformed to this world, but to the renewing of your mind. And it must say like in Christ after that, or something like that. But yeah, you want that neuroplasticity. You want to be able to bounce from, say, listen, so what I was saying is that I'm talking to people and I see that they're ruminating. I see that they have a repetitive thought that they're saying to themselves, or multiple. And I'm saying, you know what, don't focus on that. But it's not that simple. It's something that they're really holding on to. And it's hard to escape. And social media has been aggregating to me, or the algorithm has been sending to me some suggested solutions. And those are physical activity, writing, and basically just staying active are some of the solutions. Get your body moving is one way to get around it. I wouldn't suggest any self-medication. I wouldn't suggest anything that's like an unsustainable self-medication. That's gonna. I mean, if you need to sleep, you can drink some chamomile tea or something. You know what I mean? If you need to, or make sure that your circadian rhythm is properly functioning by regulating the amount of light that's entering your house, and turn the lights off and put on the blue filter thing on your or the night shift feature on your phone, and do some exercises before bed, and that helps you go to sleep and stuff like that. Putting on some classical music, putting on some calming meditation style music. Taking a shower before bed helps you go to sleep also. And then in your waking hours, you be active, and you throw yourself into things, and you start, I would say even make a list of things that you need to do. My buddy was one of my buddies was telling me, he's tripping over something, he's ruminating on something, and I said, and I can't console anybody really, I can't help anybody, because for one of my primary responses, I get incensed when somebody doesn't get something right away, but which doesn't make me a good teacher at all. or so I'm not really in that capacity as yet. But and then my next response sometimes is to just compliment them to make them feel better. But if the compliments don't, if complimenting you to make you feel better and then giving you my suggested strategies doesn't work, what's the point? You know what I mean? So I kind of get frustrated. Anyhow, not so frustrated that I hold on to it. I don't, I'm moving on from it. There's so many horrible things that I've failed to avert, by through inaction, that I've self-loathed to past the point of caring, to the point of almost callousness in a sense, which not 100%, but the way that and I'm not beating myself up about anything. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it now. So what can I do? I can work in the future with the time that I have, and in the future when there's something that needs to be acted upon, I need to act upon it, and I'll try my best to act upon it. If I still don't act upon it, I still forgive myself and move on. I don't want to get into a state of learned helplessness where I feel like, I didn't do it the last time, so I'm not going to do it the next time. It's like exercising. Some days I run. I used to run every day. Now I maybe run 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not in that motivation, but I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. I don't look physically like how I was looking in June, July, when I was exercising just about almost for 5 days a week. Right? I'm disappointed a little bit, but I'm not beating myself about it. I'll get back to it when I can get back to it. Right now on my agenda is restructuring my finances by doing all kind of different stuff. Getting my car working so I can go to work and provide and have my stuff together. I just put a sconce on my, I put up some lights and cut some plants, trim the trees, and I got all kind of things to do to keep me from ruminating. I got all kind of things to do to keep me from blaming myself, saying bad things about myself, and also have an egocentric goal of not saying anything negative about myself. Now that doesn't mean that think I'm better than anybody else. That's not what it's about. It's about making yourself, I would say, making yourself useful. I'm not useful to anyone if I'm, hindered. I'm not useful to anyone if I'm, in a debilitated psychological state. Even if I've done something wrong. How can I pay restitution? I think I can pay restitution the best way by making a contribution. And how can I make the best contribution? I need to be in a mindset where I'm effective, useful, and whatever. And if I need to get myself out of a situation, I need to have my neuroplasticity. I need to be useful. I need to, is that silk or dust? Oh. So I need to, be functional at all times. It's not about it being egocentric and thinking I'm better about it and better than anyone. I just want to be functional so that I can help whoever I can help, and I can help myself. And part of the process of doing that is forgiving myself. Part of the process is not saying negative things about myself that will cause me to be debilitated. And even let's say you're a religious person in one of the fundamental big three, Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, right? Your body is the property of God, right? So, and you're not supposed to call anybody a fool, supposedly, because that means that it's like saying fouled. It's like saying flawed. It's like saying flawed. So you're talking bad about what God manufactured. Like you're saying, oh, that's a defect. That's defective. And that's kind of disrespectful in those big three religion perspectives. Anyhow, so I don't know if that was clear what I'm saying, because I'm talking and I don't even know if it's clear. But what I'm saying is that you got to bounce back from those negative thoughts and cast them away. And like they say in Christianity, get thee behind me. Get thee behind me, Satan. Because, like, for instance, Jesus in the wilderness, right? Jesus is in the wilderness, and he don't got no water to drink. And the devil says, yo, listen, man, just use your magical powers, hit that rock, and then water's going to come out, and you can drink it. Or something like that. And he's like, listen, man, just give up. Like, the devil, I don't know if that's what happens, but basically the devil comes to him and like, yo, listen, man, just give up, and I'll make you king of the whole earth. And Jesus is like, nah. So that was a thought. You know what I mean? That was a consciousness that was talking to him. That was a thought that was talking to him. Man, I don't want to blaspheme, but that's basically his mind talking to him. Like, listen, man, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this, man. I'm God's son, man. I could just, you know what I'm saying? I could just not die and live on the earth forever and just be king on this joint because I got the powers. But Jesus know that it's written for him to sacrifice his life so that he can save everybody else according to the narrative, right? So him doing that would not be taking care of his responsibility. It wouldn't be him taking care of the fulfilling the prophecy and saving, quote unquote, I don't know, 100 billion people. There's only 9 billion people on the earth right now, but that means people are dying, being born, and it's been going on for years. So let's call it 100 billion people's lives, or souls, not lives. Everybody's gonna die, but 100 billion souls are gonna be saved by him fulfilling the prophecy. So, he doesn't get tempted. He puts away that thought. He's like, man, listen. It's not like he wasn't thinking about it, probably. You know what I mean? There's a part in the Bible, right, when they were torturing Jesus right before he was crucified, right? And he said, God, no, this is before they caught him. And he knew what was going to happen to him. And he said, God, if there's any other way that I ain't got to do this, that I ain't got to go through this, make it happen. But let your will be done. Basically he's like, I don't want them to torture me and do all this stuff that they're going to do to me. I don't want to do that. If there's any other way that to get it done, let's get it done without me having to go through all of that. But you know what? Ultimately, I'm here for the cause. I'm you know what I'm saying? I'm loyal to the cause. So God, if that's the only way, then that's it. But if there's any other way, help me out. And I think, hey, listen, man, don't get offended if I say this. Doesn't Jesus at the end part says, "Why have you forsaken me?" Doesn't he say that? I don't want to blaspheme, man. Let me look this up in AI right now. Why hast thou forsaken me? Does he say that? So he has doubts, but he still makes commitment to what he's doing. And I guess he was kind of ruminating about it because he knew what he had to do, but it was coming down to the deadline. And he had to do what he had to do, but he still didn't stop it. He could have snapped his fingers at any time and been out of there. But he didn't do it. He didn't snap his fingers and get out of there because he's on his mission. He's working on and doing what he got to do. Hold on. Let me see what time it is. I'm already late. No, I'm already late, but that's important because I need my money to whatever. But I want to find out if I really remember this thing the right way. Let me just Google this let me just co-pilot this real quick. Just hold on. Did Jesus ask God why has thou forsaken me? Or is that just from the movies? Let's see. It's thinking. Yes, Jesus did ask this question during his crucifixion. According to the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? In Aramaic, he said, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. This moment is often referred to as the cry of dereliction. It echoes the opening line of Psalm 22, a deeply emotional lament that begins with despair but ends in hope and vindication. Many theologians interprets Jesus' cry as both a genuine expression of anguish and a deliberate invocation of his psalm, signaling that he was fulfilling prophecy and identifying with human suffering. Okay, I went totally off a tangent talking about Jesus, right? But he did say that. He said, Lord, Lord, why have you forsaken me? Right? When they guys kill him. So he had a few instances. Where they document that he knew that he was gonna get killed. But he was like, yo, is there another other way? I don't want to do this. And then at the end, right away, he's going to get killed. He said, why hast thou forsaken me? So he's like, you didn't find another way. You know what I'm saying? You really going to let me just, But at the same time, he could have snapped his fingers and his father would have saved him. But he's dedicated to his cause. I don't know how that relates back to what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, what I'm hopefully trying to connect that to, is that you don't let your negative thoughts, your fears and stuff like that, well, not fears, because I still haven't figured out fear yet, because I'm still very fearful, but the negative thoughts and the things that you say bad about yourself, they're there to keep you from your purpose, or I don't know if anybody really has a purpose, but it keeps you from being the best person that you can be. It keeps you from exercising your full potential. Those negative thoughts, they make you feel inadequate, and it's an opportunity for the devil to come in, or it's an opportunity for negative thoughts to come in, or it's an opportunity for salesmen to come in and say, listen, oh, you don't smell good, buy my Burberry cologne. Oh, you don't look that cool, why don't you buy my Balenciaga? Oh, you're not so much fun. You don't have social. You don't know how to socialize. Drink this alcohol. Oh, you can't cope. You know what? Take these psychotropic medications. Oh, nobody values you too much. Why don't you buy this expensive car that you can't afford? So it's these negative things that you think about yourself. Just like in the movie, K-pop Demon Hunter, he says negative. The evil spirits say negative things in order to destroy people or to take something from them. I don't have the solutions for anybody. I don't even have the solutions for myself per se. But like I said, the mantra that I'm exercising is think about what you want and not what you don't want. Jesus, I don't want to blaspheme, but Jesus says you can say anything about him you want, just don't disrespect God. So Jesus is basically saying, he shows you that think about what you want, not what you don't want, right? So he's thinking about his purpose. I'm here to die to save let's say 100 billion people. But I don't want to die. But I'm not going to think about that too much. I'm going to still carry through and still go through the process. And I'm not going to cop out. Because at any time, listen, the devil made him the offer in the wilderness. Listen, man, just give up what you're doing and I'll make you king of the world. He could have did it at any time. He could have took that deal at any time. Or he could have asked his father, listen, God, I'm not doing this anymore. And then he would have probably been right there with the devil. Yeah, he would have been right there with the devil. The thing with the devil, though, is when the devil gives you something, then, it's a trick. It's usually a trick. It's something's gonna wrong. So he would make Jesus king of the earth, but as as a consequence, he would take all the souls of all of these people for the rest of the eternity. So, all I'm saying is this: what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, think about what you want and not what you don't want. Jesus is focusing on his purpose, on his goal of saving 100 billion people. He's not thinking about the pain that he's going to go through. Yes, he went through the pain. The pain is real. But he kept his eyesight on, and then he resurrected back in 3 days, and he felt, I'm pretty sure, I can't speculate, but he probably felt good that he went through the process of doing whatever he's doing. There's too many things to say, but all I'm saying is think about what you want, not what you don't want. Maybe I didn't give a good example by saying that, but focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Focus on what's going good and not what's going good. Give thanks for what you have, not what you don't have. Love what you have. Don't worry too much about what you don't have. Still go through the process of whatever you have to go through if it's a righteous and good and sustainable process. We're doing sustainable things. We're not doing unsustainable things. We're doing real things, practical, pragmatic things, not fantastic, romantic, mumbo jumbo stuff. Practical, pragmatic stuff. We're not going to be fools and be all romantic and silly or be manipulated by social constructs that are unsustainable, like listening to rap music and trying to live the lifestyle of a rapper while you don't have the finances for it, while it's unsustainable, full of violence and drug use and misogyny, right? We're going to discard that. We're going to try to live the life of people that listen to classical music. They're going to Broadway. They got good finances. They're doing whatever they need to do. You know what I'm saying? It's you can find some political or racial overtones in that if you want, if you choose to think in that way. But that's not what it's about. It's about the process. It's like saying, listen, mathematics is only for nerds. No, mathematics is not just for nerds. Mathematics works for everybody. It's just some people choose to totally ignore it and then they get robbed. Because if you give me $1 and you don't know your math, I'll give you back a penny, and the thing only costs 75 cents. I was supposed to give you back 25 cents or whatever the case may be, but I only give you back a penny. You see? Well, you didn't use math because you don't like math, right? So then you got robbed. Anyhow, man, I got to go to work. Thanks for listening.